Greetings, my fellow Earthlings. It is I, the Kaz Motors, and spoiler alert, I've figured it out. I've cracked the code. There's been some pretty big news in the motorcycle industry, and that being Indian is going independent. They are branching away from Polaris and becoming an independent company. That actually kind of really excites me because now all the Harley bros can't use, oh, Indians they're just Polarises. Not anymore, so what's your excuse now, Harley? But that's not what today's video is about. I'm getting off topic here. That is not what today's video is about. Today's video is about Indians' dirty little doings, all their little secrets, and they think they're slick. They think they are slick trying to cover up their business by, oh, we're being bought out by an independent company. No. I've figured it out. I've cracked the case. I've been lurking in the shadows, watching Indians every little step. I cannot let Indian keep getting away with this, okay? I need to let their dirty little secrets be known to the motorcycling world. So what is it, Kaz? Spit it out. All right, here we go. I am on camera saying this right now. You hear me, Indian? You hear me, Indian Motorcycle? I'm telling your secret right now. Polaris has purposefully sold Indian Motorcycle to bring back victory. Oh, brother, this guy stinks! Yeah, Kaz, that's Polaris. What does Indian have to do with that? So, in today's little story, Polaris is actually the good guy, and Indian is the parasitic leech on Polaris's back, stealing every little bit of resources they have. Victory Motorcycles is the victim. Now, you're saying to yourself, Kaz, what are you even on about now? Like, that's totally not what happened. I have the proof. The proof is in the pudding, and I'm telling you right now exactly what happened. And it started in the 90s. Back in the 1990s, Harley-Davidson was just absolutely killing the motorcycle game in North America, thanks in large part to Big Daddy Ronald Reagan's restrictions on import motorcycles to let Harley thrive, to let them exist in a market with no real competition. So Polaris, like any other big power sports manufacturer, sees the success of Harley-Davidson, and they're like, why does Harley get to have all the fun? So Polaris makes their own American motorcycle. So let's say you wanted to make a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. All of Harley's blueprints are on a wall 50 feet away, and all the manufacturers are allowed to stand at the fence and look 50 feet at the blueprints, and then from there they make their own motorcycles. And Victory is guilty of looking at Harley's blueprints. Why wouldn't you in the 90s? That was the best-selling thing. But what Victory did different was they said, okay, let's make a Harley-Davidson, but let's make it a lot more reliable for our dear consumer. And very fittingly born on the 4th of July of all days, Victory birthed onto this world the V92C. And then into the 2000s, you know, you just keep tweaking the recipe, you keep changing little things here and there, and you just keep making the bike better, leading into the Victory Vegas. They reworked the engine to have more power, to be more reliable. They just made a good bike that looked like a Harley-Davidson. And like Harley-Davidson, you can't just have one bike do one thing, you need one bike to do everything. Where Victory stands out from Harley-Davidson is they did all the customization for you. With Harley, you gotta buy the bike, and then you gotta buy all the accessories to come along with it to make it truly your bike. Victory saw that and said, no, we ain't playing that. We know exactly what kind of bike you want, and we're gonna make it for you right off the showroom floor, so you can just get on the bike and ride it. It is your bike, already made for your needs. So then you end up with bikes like the Victory Highball, the Victory Gunner, the Victory Jackpot. Bikes that are already custom tailored to your exact needs, because why buy a motorcycle and then have to spend a bunch of extra money making it your own bike when Victory's already done it for you? Victory is thinking of you, the consumer, and saving you the hassle. For any manufacturer, you know, one product isn't really enough, so they expanded into touring bikes. So then we get the Victory Cross Roads and the Victory Cross Country. Cross Country being the Street Glide clone, and Crossroads being the Road King clone. So in this hierarchy of copying Harley-Davidson models, you notice I didn't mention the Road Glide, and this is where the story kind of takes a turn. This is where Victory actually started to discover themselves. This is where Victory figured out, wait a second, why are we copying Harley-Davidson? Victory, in fact, stopped taking the orange pill. They realized, wait, there's other manufacturers that we can compete with. The 10th anniversary of Victory's existence, They made the Victory Vision, which was the vision of what Victory motorcycles would become. Victory had transcended past Harley Davidson. They didn't want to make it just another road glide. They went after the Goldwing. Victory hopped the fence and went straight for the big dog. The Victory Vision was really ahead of its time, and that was kind of the point. It's in the name, the Victory Vision. It's a vision of what it's going to become. Victory realized they don't need to copy Harley. They could actually compete with other manufacturers and be their own brand. Victory actually took their time with this. They didn't want to just throw out another Road Glide clone and call it a day. Victory stopped taking the orange pill. Victory was free from its orange shackles, and no longer were they just going to make another Harley clone. Victory has meaning. Victory is its own thing. And Victory pulled out all of the stops for the Vision. Just as an example of just how crazy Victory went with the Vision, here's a video of it crashing, but it's actually not crashing because you can't crash a Victory Vision. They engineered crashing out of the equation. With this newfound freedom, free from having to just copy the blueprints 50 feet on the wall over there, what do? Well, you start making sport bikes. Did you just say sport bike from an American company? Are you crazy, Victory? Yes, they were. Continuing off of the momentum of the Victory Vision and, again, the vision for the brand moving forwards, Victory competed in the Pikes Peak Hill Climb with the Project 156 naked sport bike. Is a naked bike a sport bike? Like any good red-blooded American brand, Victory did the one thing American brands do best. They just bought out another company. Victory bought out
Bramo,
which was just a manufacturer of electric motors and batteries to put into vehicles. Think of it like a much lesser scale Tesla. Think of
Bramo,
much like Tesla in the early days when they were just putting electric motors into Lotus Elises. Victory, seeing the potential in
Bramo,
bought out
Bramo.
Then in true American manufacturer fashion, they just slapped their name right on the front of the bike. No longer was it the
Bramo
Impulse. It was now the Victory Impulse. And at this point, Victory was just unstoppable. An American motorcycle manufacturer that found its own standing, no longer had to compete with little old Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson could just keep its heritage over there. Victory was paving its way forward. But that's where the issue lies. You cannot run an American brand without heritage. You can't run an American brand without hundreds of years of history. And that's where Indian comes into our story today. Indian, currently at this point being passed around like a blunt at a sorority house sleepover, got really angry at Victory. How dare an American company with no pedigree, with no heritage, with no history, try to make a name for itself and make a bike that isn't a cruiser. Here comes Indian, weaseling its way onto Polaris's doorstep. Oh, please, Polaris, we're just Willow Indian. Oh, Polaris, please save it. We're just Willow Indian. We got heritage. We're just Willow Indian. And Polaris, being the good-hearted American company that it is, took Indian in under its wing to take care of it. So now you have Victory and Indian trying to coexist side by side. And for a little while, it actually worked. Victory was positioned to be the exciting, new, exhilarating brand based on performance and innovation, while Indian took a more traditional approach and just kept on making cruisers based on heritage and feel-good memories. Remember little old Indian? Well, they're back. And from this newfound partnership was birthed the Indian Scout and the Victory Octane. Indian Scout was the retro-styled, heritage-based cruiser that poked at your heartstrings and said, oh, remember me? I'm little old Indian. Remember the Scout? Remember how awesome that bike was? Well, it's back. And the Victory Octane was the fit younger brother, absolutely jacked on SOWWY Elixir and 3D Doritos. And it worked for a little while. Indian stayed happy taking the orange pill and competing with Harley Davidson, and Victory was positioned to be this innovative brand that just could not be stopped. Deep down, Indian hated Victory motorcycles. How dare Victory motorcycles try to make a name for itself and make anything that wasn't a cruiser based on heritage? And then, like any cruel mistress of the night whispering sweet nothings into your ear, Indian shot Polaris the 2 a.m. "You up" text. Indian was playing the role of homewrecker and was taking Polaris out on dates, discussing the relationship with Victory and finding little cracks here and there. Indian poisoned Polaris's mind. Indian got Polaris to take the orange pill. Victory was just done, abruptly, just for Polaris to parade around its new side piece, Indian motorcycles. Indian had convinced Polaris that Victory had no chance, they had no history. If Victory didn't have a past, how could they have a future? It just makes sense, you know? And Indian, fresh off the orange pill, doubled down on heritage, going directly to compete with Harley-Davidson. But not only did Victory get kicked to the curbside, Polaris gave Indian their phone. Victory was on Polaris's phone bill, and Polaris took the phone away from Victory and gave it to Indian. Not that it really mattered much, because Indian was just going the heritage route and just compete with Harley-Davidson, but when you have access to someone else's phone, you're gonna go through their photos. Indian, with its grubby little fingers, was digging through all of Victory's models, was digging through all of Victory's innovations, and they just couldn't help themselves. They got a taste. Indian got a taste of real engineering. Indian had stumbled across the Garden of Eden. Indian had taken a bite of the forbidden fruit. They had found the Project 156. But Indian simply couldn't make heads or tails of what it was looking at. It was this weird machine that had no heritage. This machine had never existed before. This machine had no history. Indian, being jealous of Victory's technological advances, they couldn't let this slide. Indian had to take credit for the Project 156. So Indian just slapped artificial heritage on the side of the bike and re-released the Project 156 out for the world. And luckily for you guys, I have captured a live specimen. I'm showing you the proof in the flesh. Say hello to the Project 156 bike, now rebranded as an Indian. I have it in the flesh. You can't fool me, Indian. I know hiding behind all that pretty nonsense is the Project 156. Look at the side-by-side. That is clearly the Project 156. I know you stole it from Victory, and I need you to apologize right now. Indian had a taste of true American innovation, but of course they had to destroy it in their own special way. Relationships that start in convoluted jealousy don't tend to really last, and that's exactly what we're seeing with Indian. Eventually, the rose-colored glasses of heritage gotta come off. Eventually, Polaris realized they've been used, they've been played. They ended their perfectly good relationship with Victory, with nothing but the future ahead of it, just to go back to what's familiar. And in a messed up way, Indian tried to make itself what Victory was. Eventually, Polaris realized, wait a minute, what am I doing? And after many nights of Indian pleading with Polaris, think of all the history we've had together, think of all the history Indian has had, Polaris put its foot down and said, enough is enough. I'm done with this. And Polaris has finally kicked Indian out of its house. So now Indian, being the parasite that it is, has to go find a new host to leech its heritage onto. Now Polaris is the one sending the 2 a.m. text to Victory. Hey, you up? Victory has every right to not answer the text, but time will tell. All the corny relationship jokes aside, Polaris now has a motorcycle-shaped hole in its lineup, and could they bring back Victory? Yes and no. At the point of the Indian acquisition, Victory sales had started to dwindle, and Polaris saw an opportunity to revive Indian and have a brand that could actually compete with Harley-Davidson, and that's what they felt the best option was. My only real gripe with Indian and Polaris is that they didn't make more non-cruiser models than just the FTR. I feel going with the whole heritage thing, Indian could have really capitalized on bringing a 4-cylinder motorcycle back into the market, whether it be a cruiser or a sport bike. I feel like Indian could have built off the FTR platform a little bit more and made an actual adventure touring bike off the FTR platform, maybe. But what do I know? I don't work for Indian, I don't work for Polaris, I don't work for any of these people. These are just my feelings, but given recent events and now Polaris having a massive motorcycle-shaped hole in their lineup, it makes all the sense in the world for me for them to bring back Victory and for them to just experiment, because that's really what Victory was doing. They started out as a Harley clone at first, but towards the end of its life, they really started to just branch out and make bikes that no longer competed with Harley-Davidson. They were really finding their own brand, and I wish there were more American manufacturers that didn't just focus so heavily on cruisers. I know Buell exists, but that's a topic for a different day. And real talk right now, the FTR is probably my favorite modern motorcycle. In terms of looks, I haven't been on it yet. We're gonna change that really soon, but just from a looks perspective, they did a really good job with this motorcycle. I'm not a big fan of naked style bikes. I'm more of a full fairing person, but this is a really gorgeous bike, and it shows. Look at this thing. How could you not like this motorcycle? Enough of me yapping though. Let's get this thing on a lift and do an oil change. All right, step number 1 of the Indian FTR oil changes. You gotta let it idle for like 3 minutes so it gets warm. So I definitely didn't do that, so we're gonna do that right now. All right, now that this thing is definitely too hot to touch, now it's time to actually do the oil change, because why not? So we have the oil filter right here, and you have 2 drain plugs here. So it's literally just take off the 2 drain plugs, get the filter. So simple. Using my very appropriate Harley Davidson oil catch can for this job. Fits pretty well. Damn! That thing really... Oh my god. Dude, there is literally no way. They provide you a hex socket. There's literally... This is factory. They provide you the tools to do the oil change. That is amazing. Good on you, Indian. That is honestly pretty amazing. Alright, after a little bit of off-camera time, one-on-one time with the specimen, the Project 156 bike that we all know is a victory, just dressed as a Indian, the verdict is in. I really like the bike. Why wouldn't I like it? Because it is just a victory. At its core, that is all it is. Because why would Indian innovate? That is against everything they stand for. Why innovate when you have heritage, when you have years of the same thing over and over again? And that, my fellow Earthlings, is why Polaris has sold Indian Motorcycle. So they can bring back victory in all of its glory. Victory! Cat's out of the bag. Case closed. Absolute cinema. Thank you. Now, I will admit, most of the product line doesn't really do it for me. I just don't really care for the looks of most of the bikes. But come on, look at the back of the cross country and come on, just tell me. Come on, yep, get it right on that screen. Come on. You can't tell me the back of that thing does not look... chef kiss. You can get yourself a temperamental girl, but if she has a nice back end... Yeah. I got a little bit of game, yeah? A wise man once said... I like big butts and I cannot lie. And that is today's video. Thank you so much, my fellow Earthlings, for listening to my incoherent rambling about a troubled relationship between Polaris and Victory and Indian. While we're here, I can talk to you about the next video. So if you move your attention right on over here, this is the next video because, of course, why wouldn't my bike have yet another catastrophic failure? That's just the nature of the Twin Cam 88. It's such a good motor that every little piece of it is just dripping horsepower, and anytime you twist the throttle on a Twin Cam 88, baby, this is what's bound to happen. Another plastic tensioner decided it would go AFK. So we're gonna fix that and ride this thing another 200 miles before it breaks down again, because that's what's gonna happen. And with that, today's video is done. Over. This video is donezo, pal. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow Earthlings. Stay safe out there. Watch out for birds.